Hey, this is Bill Mosley. I play Otis in House of a Thousand Corpses and Devil's Rejects and Chop Top and Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. And you're listening to WithoutYourHead.com. Don't touch that dial or I will lick your plate. Oh, no.
Welcome to the Station of Decapitation Without Your Head. I'm Nasty Neil, and I'm joined by Bill Oberst of Hunting Grounds. How are you doing?
I like Station of Decapitation, Neil. It's clever.
Thank you. I'm proud of it.
It's kind of hard to find something that rhymes with decapitation, so now I'm thinking of others.
Yeah, that's very true. It is very hard.
Incapacitation, which is in sort of the same wheelhouse.
Yeah. We can maybe make like a rap, the decapitation rap, but we'd have to think of a lot of words.
Absolutely. I love that. It could rival Hamilton. You know, that's a really good idea. I wonder if there's been a hip-hop horror musical in the works.
That I don't know. That I would love to see that.
It's a darn good idea. Well, I'm glad to talk to you, man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, glad to have you here. And now we have a project in the works. But So Hunting Grounds is a Bigfoot movie. If you want to give people an idea what it's about, what makes it different from other Bigfoot films.
You know, when I was a kid, I was a big Bigfoot enthusiast, and I still have lots of books and evidence on it. It's really, I don't know if it's funny or sad that we've come to the point where people would say, well, how is your Bigfoot movie different from other Bigfoot movies? How many have there been? But I guess probably, if you count them up, there have been a lot. I would answer that question by saying that this isn't a Bigfoot movie. This is a Sasquatch movie. And geeks will understand the difference because Sasquatch are a potentially real, actual animal that lives undetected somewhere in the Northwest and possibly has relatives in other parts of the world. And Bigfoot is a horror movie creature. So this is not a creature feature. This is a family drama about a father and son who end up out in the woods because of economic circumstances. And the director chose to treat the Sasquatch as if they really were like actual creatures. What would their family structure be like, and what would it be like for them if someone invaded their area? So there are frightful moments in it, but the Bigfoot are treated with respect. Oops, I mean Sasquatch.
Yeah. No, I was actually going to bring up both those points because it was interesting to see, like the clan of big Sasquatch. Sorry, and I also like the fact that it is, even though they're really vicious in the movie, that a lot of it is, a man, going further into the wilderness or where they shouldn't be, and then you invade their territory, much like a Creature from the Black Lagoon.
Well, you know, Neil, this is a great divide among horror fans because horror has there's two groups that I'm in contact with, and one of them, horror has denigrated down to the point of, I want action immediately. Like, I want it within minutes. I want to be scared, and then I want to be continually scared. And then there's others who want sort of a slow build. And you can't make a movie that pleases both. And so this movie is definitely made for the people who want to build up and care about the characters and then have the enjoyment. So you probably don't want to be drunk. It's not a drunk movie or a shot movie. It's more like cuddle up with your honey and watch a movie that's a little bit creepy.
Yeah. Now, how did you get involved in it, and what was interesting about the movie for you?
Well, John Portanova of the October People contacted me. He wrote the script, and he's a director. And I like the October People because all of their features have followed this, make people care about the characters first. They're really stubborn about this, even though people who don't like it will say, I want to see the monster. I was watching a minute, and I didn't see the monster. And they're really stubborn about making you care about characters. That was interesting to me. And then secondly, my character's name in this, I'm a supporting character, not the star. My character's name is Bauman. And Bauman was a name familiar to me from reading about Bigfoot as a kid. Teddy Roosevelt in 1897 spoke to a hunter who had seen something that we would today call a Sasquatch. And his name was Bauman. And Roosevelt wrote about it in a book that was published in 1900. And so I thought it was pretty cool that he had that sense of history. My guy is a guy who goes out in the woods to look for treasure, and instead he finds that he's in Sasquatch ground. So I guess the short answer is I like the intelligence of it. I'm really, really drawn, Neil, to intelligent horror because all the horror fans that I meet are pretty sharp. They're really smart people. They think a lot. But a lot of times the producers think it's tits and blood, and I don't like that. It kind of reduces the genre down to a joke.
Yeah. I'd agree with that 100%. And it seems like you know a bit about Sasquatch and Bigfoot. Like, is it something you're interested in before the movie?
Absolutely. I've always been interested, A, in Sasquatch, and B, I think maybe even more interestingly than does Sasquatch exist is why do we want Sasquatch to exist so much? And other things like Sasquatch. And as I've grown older, I believe that it's because we've got sort of a hole in our soul, humanity does, and we want something to be mysterious. It doesn't matter how many times people tell us these are the facts of the physical world. There's something in us that wants something mystical and something otherworldly and something that we don't understand. And as you know, religion has played a smaller and smaller role in public life and in people's lives, that hole is unfilled. And she can fill it with all types of stuff, but one of them is belief that there must be animals out there that we haven't yet discovered. I know that's it for me. I really do want Sasquatch to exist. And the Loch Ness Monster. I want there to be things that we have not yet discovered.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, just recently there was a new discovery of the ghost shark, which was like was a cryptoid before that people didn't think existed, but they discovered it just like a couple months ago.
I think that's fantastic. It's good for us to be thrown on our ass, and it's good for the world to say to us, you don't know everything. I like that a lot.
Mm-hmm. Now, it's a kind of weird question, but you scream a lot in the movie. And,
yes.
Is there any preparation involved in getting a good scream for the film?
Yes, I've learned it from scream queens that I've worked with.
I was going to bring up scream, but I didn't know if it would insult you or not. But all right.
You need to do abs first. You got to do your abs first because the scream has to come from way down. If you pull it from way down in your abs, then you can scream for a long time and get a really sustained scream. Mm-hmm. I just did Death House with Barbara Crampton, and she screamed magnificently. What a great scream, and everybody on set. I never heard a scream get set applause, and that's what she does. She pulls it from way down. But John let my character scream a lot. I don't usually get to scream. I'm usually like the quiet type in these movies, and the only other director who let me scream as much was Trevor Yinger in a movie called Coyote, which is a micro-budget. I got to scream my head off, and it's a lot of fun to scream.
Yeah. I was going to say maybe they Barbara will get you into the scream queen camp, but maybe that's not really the title.
I'd make a really ugly scream queen.
No. Along those lines, I don't want to be offensive to you, but I've known you work for a long time, and you have a very interesting face, and I was just wondering. Was that hard? Was that ever something that was against you trying to get into acting, or anything, or was it more of like motivation?
No, it's not offensive at all. I mean, it's how I make my living, and I've talked to other people with unusual faces about this, Michael Berryman, and many other people who work in our genre. It's an asset. I did theater for 16 years, stage. So I made my living, and you have the distance and the lighting and the makeup, and you can play all types of things. So mostly what I did was comedy and historical characters on stage. And then when I started to mess around with film, I found that I couldn't get cast unless I was cast as a really, really dark character. And in researching it, I found out this makes perfect sense because the camera sees planes and angles, and if your face is sharp and angular, it really likes that. And the camera likes it even more if your face has textures so that shadows can fall within points of your faces. This is why usually if you have acne scars, you will be cast as an evil person because the human brain is hardwired to look at a person who has scarring and an uneven complexion, and our brain is hardwired to say, oh my God, there's something wrong with that person. Mm-hmm. It's very silly, but it's a human hardwiring, and you can't fight against it. And you can get some great effects on screen when you go with it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Kind of take like the psychology of what people are thinking when they're watching a movie, and use it to your advantage.
Totally. I mean, it's archetypes. It's the same as to me. We're not doing anything different than we did when we sat around a campfire and told stories, and people made facial expressions. Mm-hmm. It's the same thing. I mean, look at Karloff. You have this long line of people who are horrifying on screen. And in life, they're the sweetest, gentlest people. It's a cliche and a stereotype, but it's very true. I've never met anybody who played killers or horrible people who in real life wasn't gentle, sweet, and soft-spoken.
Mm-hmm. Yes. Karloff's actually the picture on my phone, by the way. So.
Which Karloff you got?
Him as Frankenstein.
Oh, that's great, man. The original, 31?
Yes, definitely.
That's the best makeup because Jack Pierce built up the head with cotton and collagen. Mm-hmm. the more they got away from that, the less I like it. But I really, really love that. You know, one of the best Frankenstein makeups was one that was not used. I've got a German poster for it. You may have seen it, where they had sort of bolts up on the forehead.
Mm-hmm.
You know, these long, horizontal, pointed bolts up on the top of his forehead on either side. They kind of look like horns.
Mm-hmm.
That's a great makeup. Look up the German poster. It wasn't used, I guess, because they thought it was a little too horrible, but it's one of my favorite.
Yeah.
I really like that.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite movies, too, is Frankenstein, the original Frankenstein. But
in this movie, for the Bigfoot and the Sasquatch and this, John Portnoy used some creature actors who he really worked with to try to get realistic movements for how actual animals who are Sasquatch would move, and even what they would eat and how they would. There's a scene where I'm trapped in one of their caves, and you know how they would crouch down and how they would pick up the food and put it in their mouth. I found that fascinating.
Yeah, I like that too. I get to see the movie, and I don't give too much away of the movie, but in your own head, do you think do you come up with a reason why the Sasquatch keep you?
Oh yeah, I absolutely did. I don't think that they meant any harm.
Mm-hmm.
I think they keep you for the same reason that I would keep a pet or something I thought was interesting or cute.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting.
I don't think that they meant any harm at all. They might have just been curious. Or maybe they wanted to send a lesson, but in my mind, they just thought they had a pet.
Yeah. So, is it easier? Because I know you've done movies with both practical and CG. Is it easier as an actor to work with something that's actually there? Someone
totally is. Yeah. Green screen. I mean, if everything's green screen, it's cool. But if you're doing a lot of practical and then you got one green screen effect, it's harder. Abraham Lincoln versus Zombies. All of the decapitations were green screen effects. Mm-hmm. And so in order to get the movement and make it feel right, I had to ask an actor, would you stand safely out of reach so I can't reach your head, but let me swing. And let me just get the feel of the thing, because sometimes it's hard with the screen. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love blood pumps, blood cannons, and decapitations and those type of things that are done practically. I think the audience likes them better too, because we've all gotten to the point now where we could look. Rogue One, it's not Peter Cushing.
Yeah.
And it's cool that they recreated the character. Mm-hmm. And it looks a lot like Peter Cushing, but I still say that there's something about a CGI shot or character that the human brain, just something in there says something's weird. There's something a little funky here.
Yeah, that's something we talk about on the show a lot. A lot of time I think it's with the weight. You could tell it's not necessarily there. But for a character like that, it's almost like it's not you could just tell it's not a real person, and then that kind of takes you out of it. I'm really mixed on it because, in like you said, in one way it's cool because you see it right away and it's like, oh, it's Peter Cushing, but there's also a thing about it's like, he's not alive, he's not there, and in a way it kind of takes away of what an actor brings to a role, because it's like, well, we can just put someone else in there and put their face over it, and it'll be the same guy. But there's more to an actor, especially a good actor, than just what they look like.
Yeah, there is. You're absolutely right. And even if you copy expressions from one performance, which I know they did, in movements, and tried to match it frame by frame, the actor might not play the role that time. He might put another little shading and nuance. Mm-hmm. So, but I mean, that's far afield from your question. But yes, I love practical effects. And John, this is not a very high budget picture, a medium budget picture, and so John used practical effects, and I really applauded him for doing it.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought the Bigfoot, the Sasquatch looked great in the movie. Was it all played by one guy, or was it multiple actors?
Yeah, I think it was one guy in different suits. I know that there were 3 different suits. Mm-hmm. It's hard to find really, really tall people who are really good at playing creatures.
Yeah.
But we were shot in the woods of Washington State. Uh-huh. And it was pretty creepy, Neil, because I had an afternoon off, so I just hiked on up. We were at a ski resort, and I hiked up and got off the path and went up to where the actual, huge big trees are. The forest there, it's so quiet, it's like you're walking on padded cotton, and you can't hear anything. And just even when it's sunny, you only get little shafts of light coming through. Mm-hmm. It was pretty creepy. I was actually kind of hoping that I might see something or hear something out there. I stayed out there all afternoon.
Yeah. Yeah, does that add to the role, like the atmosphere when you're actually in an actual setting?
You know it. Yes, it's much easier than stepping onto a soundstage. It really helps you. Yeah, it helps you a lot to be out in the actual setting. It's tough for low-budget films to do it, but they were lucky enough to get this tremendous setting, which I thought added a lot.
Yeah. And by the way, Hunting Ground comes out February 7th, and I really enjoyed it. So I hope people check it out.
Yeah, man, it'll be out on VOD, and I hope people dig it too. This is a movie that female horror fans can enjoy too. Mm-hmm. I hear from female horror fans a lot, more than males actually, for some reason. They like my creepy sensitivity. But I hear from them, and they say, we really wish that horror films had more character in them, more characters that you could get to know and care about. Mm-hmm. Because I think that's a female trait, is to want to care. They're the caring, nurturing, generally speaking. Mm-hmm. And this is a film that, a horror guy and a horror girl could watch together, and maybe both enjoy. That's kind of a rarity too.
Yeah. And what's the best way to find you? Not like at your house, but to follow you around.
Follow the blood trail. I'm on social media. Bill Oberst Jr. is my Twitter name, and that's my Facebook name, and so I'm pretty easy to find if you just Google my name. Or if you even Google creepy actors or creepy torso actors. For a while there, I was known as having a creepy torso. And
oh, really?
I was leading the search results in that, me and Christian Bale from The Machinist.
Oh, okay.
But I love to hear from fans. I love to hear from people who have real thoughts about horror, because I love this genre. It meant so much to me as a kid. I was a misfit. I felt like a monster myself. Mm-hmm. I was so different in every way, and I loved these monsters. And so I've grown up with a deep affection in my heart for the genre, and it pains me to see it denigrated as, horror, that's, it's just a cheap, throw some blood at the screen and people are fine. Mm-hmm. So and I love to hear from people who have real thoughts about it and where the genre should go. And so I urge people to say hello.
Yeah, just real quick along those lines, what were some of your favorite horror characters growing up?
Of course, the Phantom. All characterizations of the Phantom. I think that was probably my single favorite, because the Phantom there's this archetype called the wounded monster, and I like it best of all. And it's the creature that didn't ask to be born, didn't ask to be what it is, and that society bears a large responsibility for creating it by the way they've treated it. Mm-hmm. And that's Eric in the original Phantom of the Opera. In the original, nobody threw acid in his face. He was born that way. He's a freak. Mm-hmm. And I'm really partial to freaks. I like werewolves for the same reason. I wanted to walk like a werewolf so much. I wanted to know what it felt like. So I used to go out at night on my bicycle. I don't know if I've told anybody this in my family, but when everybody was asleep, I'd go out on my bicycle and ride out to the railroad tracks, and I would try to walk along the railroad ties as a werewolf, like Lon Chaney Jr. did, raised up on your toes, and howl at the moon, just to get the feeling for what it would be like to be a lonely werewolf out there under the moon. That's the kind of weird kid I was.
That's pretty awesome. But just real quick, actually, at Halloween, Annabelle and I, who's my co-host on the show, but she can't be here right now, we went to see Phantom of the Opera, the original silent one, with a live with a live orchestra, and it was like, kind of like how they originally would show the movie, and that was like one of the greatest experiences.
Oh man, I love it. Chaney's performance in that. I mean, it's a silent movie and it's jerky and looks kind of silly to us, but there's this one moment. The one moment that gets me is after he's unmasked. Mm-hmm. He's playing for her. He's unmasked, and he looks at her, and you see he's angry, but he's also hurt at the exact same time. Mm-hmm. And you can see in his eyes this change from I hope that you can love me to he's accepted. I'm going to be a freak to her too. I'm going to be a freak to this person I love. And so if you want a freak, I'm going to show you a freak. And he throws Mary Filden to the floor. I mean, he throws her. Mm-hmm. She hits the floor. And then when he points at her and he looks down and he says, feast your eyes, glut your soul on my accursed ugliness. And our modern equivalent of that would be, is this what you wanted to see, bitch? This what you wanted to see? Uh-huh. And it gives me chills every time I watch it, because she could not overlook this one thing he asked her to do, to respect about him. Yeah. She loves being the star. Mm-hmm. He helped create her. but she's got to be curious. And that's so the way society treats people who are different, is we got to pick, we got to bully, and then we create a monster. So I think we're all Dr. Frankensteins in that way, that we can create monsters by the way we treat other people.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and she was all about him before that moment, too. This was
she's all about it, of course, because of what she got from him.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and because she's imagining, oh, well, he must be handsome under there.
Mm-hmm.
But then when she sees that he's not handsome, and I can relate to that a lot, because, my acne was so bad in school. I had cystic acne, it was called, and there wasn't good treatment for it at the time. But I remember a kid coming up in the library and saying, can't you do anything about your face? It's making us sick. And, I did not have a good answer for that until about 10 years later. I thought I could have said no, but I could do something about your face. But it was too late then.
Yeah.
So this is the way we treat people who are different. And it's a damnable, demonic thing that we do when we bully people. So I always tell kids, be really careful, because you're creating monsters.
Mm-hmm. Very well said. Well, I want to thank you for talking to me today, and we'd love to have you back sometime.
Neil, I truly enjoyed it, man. I hope people check out Hunting Grounds February, and I hope they enjoy it. Thank you.
Thanks, man.
Hi, this is Kane Hodder, Victor Crowley, Jason from Friday the 13th. You're listening to WithoutYourHead.com.